Imagine sitting at your niece's funeral. The pastor is finishing the final prayer. Then your phone buzzes. You look down and see a text from the deceased. I am still alive. It's all a prank. Would you feel relief, rage, or something far more complicated? Before we dive into this unbelievable true inspired story, I need to ask you something. Have you ever watched your family fall apart over petty arguments? Have you ever wished someone would do something drastic to fix it? Drop a comment below, because what happened in a small Ohio town will make you question everything about family forgiveness and how far you go to save the people you love. And if you're ready for a story that'll leave you speechless, hit that like button right now. The morning arrived cold and bitter, the kind of Ohio autumn day that seeps into your bones and refuses to let go. Gray clouds hung low over Riverside Chapel, pressing down on the building like a weight none of the mourners could escape. Inside, the pews filled with black-clad figures, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, all gathered for a funeral no one saw coming. Graham stood near the back, exhausted. He'd driven through the night, 6 hours straight, after getting the call that shattered his world. Lila was gone. His niece, 22 years old, full of dreams and laughter, gone in an instant, or so they said. Just last week, she'd texted him at midnight, unable to contain her excitement. Uncle G, I got in. Full scholarship. Can you believe it? He could still see the stream of celebration emojis lighting up his screen. He'd promised to take her out for dinner to celebrate. That dinner would never happen now. The chapel smelled of lilies and old wood. Someone coughed. Someone else sobbed quietly into a tissue. The pastor, a gray-haired man with kind eyes, stood at the front, hands clasped together as he prepared to deliver the final prayer. Graham's hands trembled as he gripped the pew in front of him. He couldn't cry. Not yet. If he started, he wasn't sure he'd stop. The pastor's voice began, soft and reverent. And now, let us bow our heads as we commit our beloved Lila to buzz, buzz, buzz. Phones throughout the chapel erupted in a chorus of vibrations. Graham felt his pocket vibrate. Once, twice, 3 times. Normally, everyone would have their phone silenced at a funeral, but grief makes people careless. Some forget, others need the distraction. He almost ignored it, but something made him look. The screen glowed in the dim chapel light. A new message from Lila's number. I am still alive. It's all a prank. His heart stopped. His brain refused to process the words. He read it again, and again, checked the sender. Lila's name. Lila's number. Impossible. A gasp echoed from the front row. Then another, all around him. Faces illuminated by phone screens. Expressions shifting from confusion to shock to something that looked like terror. What the... someone muttered. No, this can't be. Mara, Lila's best friend since elementary school, let out a sound that was half sob, half scream. She clutched her phone with both hands, staring at it like it might explode. Tears streamed down her face, but whether from relief or fury, no one could tell. The pastor stopped mid-sentence. Is everything all right? Everything was not all right. A man in the third row stood up abruptly, his face flush red. This is sick. Who would do this? A woman dropped her phone. The clatter echoed through the chapel like a gunshot. Someone started laughing, nervous, hysterical laughter that shouldn't exist in a funeral home. Others began shouting, demanding answers, looking around as if Lila might suddenly appear from behind a curtain. Chaos. Pure, unfiltered chaos. And somewhere in that moment, as the chapel descended into pandemonium, Graham felt something crack inside him. Relief? Anger? He couldn't tell. His niece was alive, but she'd put them through this. Why? If you're as shocked as these mourners were, hit that like button, because the reason behind this insane stunt will blow your mind even more. To understand why Lila did the unthinkable, you need to understand what she'd been watching for years. Her family wasn't just broken. It was shattered into 1,000 pieces, each person clutching their fragment and refusing to let go. It started small, the way these things always do. An argument at Thanksgiving 15 years ago between 2 brothers over an inheritance that wasn't even large. Harsh words exchanged. Doors slammed. Then silence. Years of silence. Uncle Jack refused to attend any gathering where Uncle Marcus would be present. Marcus reciprocated. Their children, Lila's cousins, grew up as strangers. Kids who should have played together, shared secrets, built memories, instead passed each other in grocery stores with awkward nods. Then came the weddings where half the family wasn't invited. The birthdays celebrated twice because the family couldn't occupy the same room. The holidays split down the middle like a divorce settlement. Christmas Eve with one side, Christmas Day with the other. Lila watched it all from the center. Her mother tried to bridge the gaps, to play peacemaker, but you can't force people to forgive when they're addicted to their grievances. And Lila saw what it cost. She saw her grandmother age faster, heartbroken that her children couldn't stand each other. She saw her mother cry after yet another failed attempt at reconciliation. She saw empty chairs at her high school graduation because half her family couldn't make it. Translation, wouldn't make it if the other half was there. By the time Lila turned 21, the anger had calcified. The grudges had become identities. These people had forgotten how to be a family. And Lila, she'd had enough. She'd noticed something dark and telling. The only times a family ever came together anymore was for funerals. Grandpa Joe's funeral 3 years ago brought everyone under one roof for the first time in a decade. They stood in the same chapel, cried the same tears, shared the same regret that he died without seeing them reconciled. Then they went right back to their corners. Lila had a terrible, brilliant, insane thought. What the only thing powerful enough to wake them up was death itself. But no one else was dying, so she'd have to. She brought the idea to the one person she knew would understand. Her grandmother, Patricia, the same grandmother who'd watched her children destroy their relationships over nothing. Patricia was 86, sharp as ever, and possessed a mischievous streak she'd passed directly to Lila. Grandma, Lila had said over tea one afternoon, "I have an idea. It's crazy. It might not work. It could blow up in our faces. But what if we fake my death?" Patricia had stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, a smile spread across her weathered face. "Tell me everything. Do you know a family like this? One torn apart by pride and stubbornness? If this story is hitting home, share it with someone who needs to see it. Sometimes we all need a wake-up call, though hopefully not one this extreme. Planning a fake funeral is harder than you'd think. It's not just about sending a text. It's about selling the impossible. Lila started with her improv troupe from community theater. She'd been performing with them for 3 years, and they knew how to commit to a bit. But this wasn't a bit. This was warfare against apathy. She needed a death certificate, or at least something that looked legitimate enough that no one would question it initially. She needed someone to make the call, to notify the family. She needed people to stay silent, to maintain the illusion even as they watched genuine grief unfold. Mara was the hardest sell. "Are you out of your mind?" she'd shouted when Lila told her. "Lila, people will have heart attacks. Your mom will be destroyed." "My mom is already destroyed," Lila shot back. "She's been destroyed for years watching her family tear itself apart. This might be the only thing that stops it. Or it might make everything worse." "Then at least I tried." Eventually, Mara agreed, though her conscience screamed the entire time. The plan came together piece by piece. A fake accident report, a friend who worked at the funeral home and owed Lila a favor, a closed casket, supposedly because of the accident, but really because there was nothing inside but weighted fabric. The funeral itself was real. The location, the service, the pastor who believed he was genuinely honoring a young life cut short. That's what made it so devastating. Every tear was real. Every sob came from genuine heartbreak. Lila watched from a distance, hidden in a car across the street with her grandmother. Patricia held her hand as Lila saw her mother collapse into her father's arms outside the chapel. As she watched Uncle Jack and Uncle Marcus walk into the building from opposite doors, still refusing to acknowledge each other even in the face of this tragedy. "Can I really do this?" Lila whispered. Patricia squeezed her hand. "You already did, sweetheart. Now we see if love is stronger than pride." The risk was enormous. Someone could have had a heart attack from shock. The family could have fractured even further, never forgiving her. Lila could have destroyed every relationship she had in a single morning. But she'd also watched her family destroy themselves slowly, over years, and no one seemed to care enough to stop it. Sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures. By 3 o'clock that afternoon, Lila knew she couldn't wait any longer. The messages had been sent, the chaos unleashed. Now came the hardest part, facing them. She stood on the church steps, very much alive, heart hammering against her ribs. Behind her, Patricia stood with quiet strength. Around her, members of her improv troupe formed a protective semicircle, just in case things got ugly. The chapel doors burst open. Her mother emerged first, eyes red and swollen. Makeup streaked down her face. When she saw Lila, she froze, completely froze. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then she ran, sprinted across the stone steps and grabbed Lila in an embrace, so fierce it knocked the breath from both of them. "You're alive. Oh, God, you're alive." The relief lasted exactly 5 seconds before the fury hit. "What did you do?" More family members poured out. The reactions came in waves. Uncle Jack, face purple with rage. "Do you have any idea what you put us through? We thought you were dead, Lila. Dead." Aunt Sharon, voice shaking. "I called out of work. I bought a plane ticket. I've been crying for 2 days straight." Mara pushed through the crowd, tears streaming. "I had to watch your mother's heart break. I had to lie to everyone. Do you know how that felt?" She hugged Lila anyway, unable to choose between anger and relief. Graham stood at the edge of the crowd, silent. He didn't trust himself to speak. The betrayal cut deep. She'd texted him about college just days ago, knowing he believed she was dead, knowing he'd drive through the night, exhausted and grieving. But underneath the anger, something else stirred. Understanding. Maybe even respect. Then Marcus and Jack came face to face in front of Lila. For the first time in 15 years, they couldn't avoid each other. The crowd fell silent. "This is your fault," Marcus said quietly. "If we'd been speaking, maybe she wouldn't have." "My fault." Jack's voice cracked. "You're the one who—" "Enough." Lila's voice cut through the air like thunder. Every head turned. She stood straighter, chin raised. "You want to blame someone? Blame me. I did this. Me and Grandma Patricia." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Patricia simply nodded, unapologetic. Lila's voice shook but didn't break. "I watched you all waste years. Years you'll never get back. Over what? Money? Pride? Some stupid argument no one even remembers the details of anymore? You've missed birthdays, graduations, weddings. You've raised your kids as strangers to each other. And for what?" Her mother reached for her. "Baby, you can't. The only time you all came together was for Grandpa's funeral. Do you realize how messed up that is? That death is the only thing powerful enough to make you remember your family." Uncle Jack's anger wavered. "Lila, you can't just—" "I watched Mom cry every single holiday, trying to get you all in the same room. I watched Grandma's heart break, watching her children hate each other. And I watched all of you choose your grudges over your family every single time." The words hung in the air. Several people looked at the ground. Others wiped tears. Lila's voice softened. "I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry you thought you lost me. But I'm not sorry you're all here. I'm not sorry that for the first time in forever, you're standing in the same place, looking at each other, being forced to feel something." She looked directly at Marcus and Jack. "You two haven't spoken in 15 years. 15 years. And today, you showed up to bury your niece. Tell me, was your grudge worth missing my real funeral someday? Because I promise you, when that day actually comes, you'll have wasted all this time hating each other for nothing." Marcus's face crumpled. Jack turned away, but not before everyone saw the tears. Patricia stepped forward, voice carrying the weight of age and wisdom. "My granddaughter did something desperate because she loves you all desperately. She risked everything to give you a chance to choose differently. The question is, what are you going to do with that chance?" Subscribe if you want more stories that make you question everything. because what happened next will restore your faith in the power of forgiveness. The anger didn't disappear instantly. That's not how real life works. People don't just forget trauma because the lesson was valuable. Lila's mother didn't speak to her for 3 days. Just couldn't. The wound was too fresh, the shock too complete. But on day 4, she showed up at Lila's apartment with coffee and red eyes. "Don't ever do anything like that again," she said. "I won't have to," Lila replied. The town buzzed with scandal. At the grocery store, at the gas station, at the local diner, people couldn't stop talking about the girl who faked her own funeral. Some called her cruel. Others called her brilliant. Most landed somewhere in between, acknowledging that what she did was terrible and also maybe exactly what that family needed. But the real changes happened quietly, in living rooms and over phone calls. Marcus called Jack 2 weeks later. Didn't apologize at first. Just said, "We should talk." They met for coffee. It was awkward, painful, but they showed up. They started showing up. Cousins who'd been strangers exchanged phone numbers. Aunt Sharon invited people to Thanksgiving. All people, not half people. Uncle Jack showed up. So did Marcus. They sat opposite ends of the table at first, but they were at the same table. Graham found Lila at a coffee shop a month later, slid into the booth across from her without asking. "I've been angry," he said. "I know. I drove 6 hours thinking you were dead. I know. But I've also been thinking about all the times I missed because I was too busy or because certain people would be there." He looked at his hands. "I would have regretted that forever if you'd actually died." Lila's eyes filled with tears. "That's why I did it. I know." He reached across the table and squeezed her hand. It was insane. Cool. Absolutely unhinged. "I know. But it worked." At her grandmother's birthday party 6 months later, something remarkable happened. The whole family showed up. Every single member. The house overflowed with people, laughter, competing conversations. Kids ran through the hallways. Cousins who were finally getting to know each other. Adults who'd avoided each other for years found themselves laughing at old jokes, carefully rebuilding bridges. Patricia sat in her favorite chair, watching her family fill her home with noise and life. Lila sat beside her. "They still talk about you, you know," Patricia said. "At the grocery store. At church. That girl who faked her own funeral. Do you regret it?" Patricia smiled. "Look around, sweetheart." The house was alive. Her children, all of them, were gathered under one roof by choice, not obligation. Grandchildren chased each other, building memories they remember forever. The grudges hadn't vanished entirely, but they'd loosened their grip. "No," Patricia said. "I don't regret a thing." Lila never did it again. Never needed to. The family had its relapses. Old arguments would flare up occasionally. But now when they did, someone would inevitably say, "Are we really going to do this again?" You want Lila to fake someone else's death. It became shorthand, a reminder, a story that would echo through generations, told at dinner tables and family gatherings long after everyone involved was gone. The girl who loved her family so desperately, she was willing to break their hearts to save them. Here's the uncomfortable truth Lila's story forces us to confront. How many of us are waiting for a funeral to appreciate what we have? How many grudges are we carrying that won't matter when we're gone? How many relationships are we neglecting because we're too proud, too busy, too convinced we have time? Lila did something extreme. Something most of us would never do and probably shouldn't do. But she did it because she understood something the rest of her family had forgotten. Time doesn't wait for you to get over yourself. The tragedy wasn't her fake death. The tragedy was that it took a fake death to wake them up. Every year now, the family has a reunion. They call it the second chance gathering. No one has to pretend someone died to get everyone in the same room. They show up because they finally understood what Lila was screaming at them. You don't get unlimited chances to be family. Eventually, the funerals will be real, and you'll have to live with how you spent the time before. The story spread beyond that small Ohio town. People from all over wrote to Lila, sharing their own fractured families, asking for advice. She always said the same thing. Don't wait for someone to do what I did. Don't wait for tragedy. Just pick up the phone. Show up. Choose your people while you still can. Some stories are about heroes. Some are about villains. Lila's story is about someone who was willing to be both to save the people she loved. The family, bruised, angry, confused, but undeniably together, left that chapel with something they thought they'd lost forever. Not just each other, but hope. Hope that broken things could be mended, that pride could be set aside, that love, however buried, was still there waiting to be chosen. So here's my question for you. What would it take for your family to come together? Don't wait for a funeral, real or fake. Don't wait until regret is the only thing left. Comment below and tell me your story. Has your family been fractured? Have you reconciled with someone after years apart? Or are you still carrying a grudge that might not be worth what it's costing you? And if this story moved you, if it made you think about your own relationships, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Sometimes we all need a wake-up call. Don't forget to subscribe to Earthly Tales for more stories that will change how you see the world. Because life is too short to waste on grudges, and too precious to wait for tragedy before we choose love. Thank you for watching. Choose your people. Choose them today.